Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Mobility Week 2020. I'm glad that everybody was able to join us on our virtual platform this year. Sorry for the slight delay, some technical problems, but all is in order, all is well, and we will get started with the webinar very shortly. Today we have FDOT speaker Nilia, and she will be speaking on Smart Plan Project Overview. Nilia, if you'd like to say a few words about yourself and go into the presentation, please feel free.
Thank you, Angelique, for the introduction. And good morning, everyone. My name is Nilia Cartaya. I am the District 6 Modal Development Administrator and the Project Manager for the FDOT Smart Plan PDEs that I'll be briefly reviewing with you this morning. So let's get started. So could I just take a quick poll, and Angelique, you could help me out with this. How many of you have heard of the Smart Plan?
All right, most of our audience has voted. I'm going to go ahead and close it out and share the responses for you, Nilia.
Great, thank you. All right, so it looks like roughly most of you are somewhat familiar, if not very familiar with the Smart Plan, but I do see that some are not familiar. So again, let me just give a brief overview and then we'll get into our PDE projects that are being led by FDOT.
Let me go ahead and put us in present mode.
All right. So the Strategic Miami Area Rapid Transit Plan, or better known as the Smart Plan, was adopted by the Miami-Dade Transportation Planning Organization. And it is a visionary plan that provides for expansion of premium transit projects along strategic corridors. And you can see here, this is the official Smart Plan map. And we'll get into the different corridors that are being led by FDOT. Okay. So here we see at the bottom of the screen, the FDOT-led PDE studies include the North Corridor, which you could see here where my pointer is, this purple line. This is the North Corridor. The Kendall Corridor is over here towards the southern section of the county. It's an east-west alignment. And the Flagler Corridor, which is a BERT route. Now, one thing to note about the Smart Plan is that in addition to the premium transit corridors you see here in the various colors, we do also have a complementary bus express rapid transit network that is also proposed as part of the Smart Plan. And the idea is to feed the premium transit corridors with strategic express bus routes. So the Flagler Corridor, which you see here towards the middle of the county, is in this dotted gray line. And it extends from the western section of the county all the way into the urban core. So let's begin with the North Corridor. This project, and you'll see here towards the bottom of your screen, the study limits are from the Miami Intermodal Center all the way along Northwest 27th Avenue, heading north to the county line at 215th Street. It's approximately 12 miles in length, and it does serve unique markets. We have Miami-Dade College North Campus along this corridor, and we also have the Hard Rock Stadium, which is a special event major generator, an attraction site. So the goal of this project, again, we want to maximize mobility. We want to give folks different options to move within this corridor that don't necessarily require a car. We want to enhance connectivity to major destinations along this corridor. And we also want to promote and enhance economic opportunities for development along this corridor. Access, of course, to regional attractors is also critical when you talk about laying out a mass transit project. On this slide, I just want to walk everyone through a brief history of what has been accomplished to date with the North Corridor PDE. In December of 2018, the TPO governing board selected an elevated fixed guideway transit system as the LPA for the North Corridor. You'll notice that this LPA is technology neutral. In January of 2019, the county requested that FDOT also evaluate additional transit technologies such as maglev, monorail, and automated guideway transit, or people mover, as we know it down here in South Florida. In October of 2019, after conducting the technology analysis, FDOT returned to the TPO governing board, at which point the governing board did select elevated heavy rail as the LPA for the North Corridor, with a motion that also directed the TPO to coordinate with DOT and the county to further refine the technology analysis and come back to the board in March of 2020. In April of 2020, DTPW returned to the TPO board and presented an optimization report that did look at additional transit technologies. June of 2020, the Miami-Dade DTPW did issue an RFP for the North Corridor that is open to various technologies, and that RFP process is currently underway. So let's look at what the FDOT PDE results have been to date. FDOT's analysis results to date, we did recommend a heavy rail alternative, which again was ultimately selected as an LPA. The reasons for the heavy rail alternative, again, you provide a seamless connection, you provide a one-seat ride from 215th Street through the existing Metro Rail infrastructure that already exists today, and can really provide that seamless connectivity to downtown. This option provides the fastest, most efficient travel time going into downtown, seamless interoperability, of course, with existing technology, as I mentioned, and ability to achieve savings, being that we could utilize the existing maintenance facility that is used today for the Metro Rail vehicles. And here on the upper right-hand side of your screen, you see the results of the technology analysis that was conducted by the department. So again, in our technology analysis, we did look at heavy rail, we looked at people mover, we looked at monorail and maglev. And you see here the new riders that were generated as you go through the various technologies, with Metro Rail, of course, producing the highest ridership among all these technologies. Towards the bottom section of your screen, you see the capital cost and the O&M comparison that came out of our technology analysis. Again, heavy rail, the pricier option. Other options are cheaper, but again, you do lose that one-seat ride, and you do lose the ability to utilize the existing maintenance facility. So the O&M, if you notice, for the other technologies is a little bit higher than Metro Rail. So again, let's just recap some project milestones that have been achieved to date for the North Corridor PDE. In November of 2018, again, the department identified heavy rail as a recommended alternative. In December was the first LPA for an elevated fixed skyway system. In March of 19, FDOT did achieve class of action determination from FTA for an environmental assessment. In October of 19, again, the Miami TPO selected heavy rail as the LPA with that motion to come back and refine some of the technology. In February of 2020, FDOT did conduct a value engineering workshop, which did identify some potential cost savings should the county decide to move forward with the heavy rail option. Right now, our PDE project is currently on hold. We are pending the results that will come out of the county's led RFP process in order to inform the final selection of the technology for this corridor. Moving on to the Kendall corridor, this corridor again is an east-west alignment, begins all the way out west at Chrome Avenue, 177th Avenue, and it goes all the way east to Dayland North Metro Rail Station for a length of 10 miles. This corridor is again characterized by unique markets. We have two major hospitals along this corridor with the West Kendall Baptist and the Baptist Hospital. We do have major shopping destinations such as Dayland Mall in the downtown Dayland area. We have the Palms at Town and Country, the Kendall Village, and we do have a multitude of residential communities along this corridor. So when we looked at this corridor, again, our goals in this PDE, improve travel options, increase mobility and connectivity along Kendall Drive so that folks don't have to rely on their vehicles for all of their trips. Our PDE results to date, again, we identified a curbside BRT option as the recommended alternative for Kendall. This option provides a very cost-effective transit solution. It does maintain curbside access to businesses and residents, and it does provide the high-capacity frequent transit service while still maintaining critical left turns for folks to still access north-south major arterials. Transit travel time savings estimated at up to 14 minutes versus today's conditions. And up at the top right-hand side of your screen, you'll see the design year 2042 ridership is projected total of 8,900 trips on the project, with new transit trips projected at 3,400. Towards the bottom side of the screen, you'll see here, again, we are comparing the capital cost among the various build alternatives that were analyzed in this PDE. We had a total of 5 build alternatives analyzed as part of this PDE. It's an extensive analysis that went underway. And we also have the O&M listed for you here. Curbside BRT, just want to highlight here, it has a very reasonable capital cost of $262 million with approximately $7 million in O&M. So again, just to recap some major milestones, November of 2019, we identified curbside BRT as a recommended alternative. We did host a series of 3 public workshops along the corridor in December of last year to gain feedback from the community. Overall, this community is somewhat divided in their vision for the corridor. You have folks living out west that really are desperate and you know, asking for a premium transit solution. And then you have folks, you know, east of the turnpike that really are not as willing to, you know, entertain a major change to the corridor. In February of 2020, the department was asked by the TPO to go ahead and conduct an evaluation for the feasibility of reversible lanes along Kendall Drive. Again, the thought is, you know, we want to provide a premium transit solution, but we also want to provide some congestion relief for vehicles, so a balanced approach. So that is the analysis that we are currently underway now. Next steps for this PDE, we anticipate completion of that reversible lane analysis in this year, before the end of the year, after which we will, of course, coordinate with our partner agencies, the TPO, DTPW, and we will go back and present to the various TPO committees and the CITT as well. And we will ultimately go back to the TPO board to request an endorsement of a recommended alternative. If all of this, again, the end of this year is going to be very busy, but once we have all of those meetings in hand and we have an endorsement, we can complete our NEPA checklist and submit it to the FTA and gain a class of action from FTA. The Flagler Corridor. This corridor is the longest corridor. It's 20 miles in length, and it starts out west, approximately at 8th Street and 147th Avenue, where the Tamiami Station is currently being constructed by the county. This is a major park and ride facility. It heads east on 8th Street and then veers north on 107th. This leg also out here to the north on 12th Street is provided to, again, connect to the existing Dolphin Terminal that's already been built, another major park and ride facility that's already completed. And then, again, it veers towards the east on Flagler and heads directly into the urban core. This corridor, again, multiple markets can be served, major malls along this corridor, educational facilities, the CBD, of course, the urban core is a major employment attractor and generator. So you do have a lot of commuting along this corridor that could benefit from a transit solution. The goals of the PDE, much like you saw with the previous PDEs, we're looking at promoting mobility on this corridor by providing additional options for folks to make their trips. Providing an enhanced transit service. Again, today, you know, most of the buses you'll see out there, they are stuck in mixed traffic, which results in, of course, unreliable performance. So providing a dedicated facility for transit really helps to provide a better service for the riding public. The potential, of course, to increase economic development opportunities along the corridor is always there when you implement premium transit. This is really a catalyst for TOD. So again, this is something that will benefit the corridor. So let's take a look at the PDE analysis results to date. The PDE has recommended a curbside BRT option. So again, similar to what we saw in Kendall, and you'll see here in this representation, it's a repurposing of the outside lane for transit vehicles. So we're not widening the corridor because that, of course, would be cost prohibitive. But we are repurposing one of the general use lanes or one of the car lanes for buses to operate exclusively, while still allowing, of course, cars to temporarily enter the lane to make right turns, thereby facilitating access to businesses and homes. Transit travel time savings are estimated at greater than 30 minutes with this alternative. Increases in ridership on the corridor, again, estimated to increase by 8,000 riders per day. This corridor has very strong community support for this option. We did host a series of 3 workshops in summer of 2019 to present our recommended alternative to the community. And in all of our community meetings, this was a very welcome improvement by most of the folks that we interacted with. Again, as I mentioned earlier, something such as a curbside BRT can really serve as a catalyst for transit-oriented development along the corridor. This option, again, encourages really the highest mode shift from the auto to the transit mode. Up at the right-hand side of your screen, again, we are just showing you a quick snapshot of what that capital cost estimate would look like, as well as the O&M, and based on the 3 alternatives that we analyzed as part of this PDE. So we have here alternative 1, of course, is the recommended alternative. It's the BRT, the business access and transit lane. And again, we are maintaining the flexibility for cars to make right turns so that access to businesses and residential communities is not impacted with this alternative. Capital cost for our recommended alternative is in the realm of $478 million. We do recognize that this cost is slightly high, given that, you know, the ideal funding strategy for this corridor would be, of course, to submit a small starts FTA application. We would need to bring this cost down to under the $300 million threshold, but that is something that we can certainly do in our tier 3 next phase of the project. Estimated O&M for the recommended alternative is $55 million. So again, just a quick recap of what we've achieved to date. April of 2019, we did identify the curbside BRT as the recommended alternative. In July of 2019, we did present to the Miami-Dade TPO board, at which time the board members requested a sunshine workshop style meeting to further discuss the alternatives and to possibly discuss reversible lanes being introduced into the corridor. January of 2020, we hosted a cost risk analysis workshop, which gave us some very valuable insights onto some of the risk factors associated with our recommended alternative in terms of cost. That same month, in January of this year, we did have the Sunshine meeting with the TPO board members, at which point in time the department was formally asked to evaluate implementation of reversible lanes along the Flagler Corridor, which we are currently in the process of analyzing. Next steps, we do plan to conclude that reversible lane analysis by the end of this year. And much like you heard with Kendall, once we have those analyses completed, we will then start coordinating and collaborating with our partner agencies, with the TPO, the DTPW, the CITT, and then work our way back to the TPO board to request an endorsement of a recommended alternative. In February of next year, again, bearing in mind that all of this coordination is able to come through successfully, we do plan to complete an EVA checklist, and in March of 2021 we would hope to achieve a class of action determination by FTA. And that's all for my presentation today. I'm available, of course, to answer any questions that the audience may have at this time, and please feel free to jot down my contact information if you wish to get more details on any of our projects.
Thank you so much for that presentation, Ilia. I'm going to go through some of the questions that we had during the pre-registration, and then attendees, please feel free to insert your questions in the question box if you haven't already. And I will pull those as soon as I'm done with the pre-registration questions, and we'll go from there.
Great.
So our first question, let me pull it up here, is how do you anticipate areas outside of the SMART plan being affected from the new transit strategy?
That's a great question. One of the key next steps for all of these PDEs is to do what's called a transit service plan. And when we do that, of course, in conjunction with DTPW, who is the transit operating agency in Miami-Dade County. And what that does is it will look at what's existing out there today, right? What do the bus routes look like today? And how do those bus routes need to be realigned to better serve and connect the communities to these premium transit corridors? So that's something that is crucial and is very much on our radar when we move forward with these projects.
Perfect, thank you. Our next question is, what are the main areas of transit that residents will see a positive impact from the SMART plan?
So some of the main areas that I think the end user will see as positively impacted, I can give you, let's start with the stations. A lot of times when you drive around the county, you notice really the bus stops are literally just that. It's a bench, if you're lucky, or it's simply a sign, and you have to stand there, and there's no weather protection, there are no amenities. So really, I think one of the most impactful things that will come out of the SMART plan are substantial transit stations that will provide a level of comfort to the user in terms of weather protection, in terms of real-time information signs, in terms of added security. So these are things, even ticket vending machines, the ability to buy your ticket at the station for some key locations. Off-board fare collection, I think, is another key component that you will see in these premium transit stations that will greatly facilitate once the bus arrives at the station. It'll speed up the loading of that bus so that the bus can get on its way quicker.
Perfect, thank you. Let's see, will the SMART plan have a major impact on traffic during its construction?
So yes, as with any project, whether it's a roadway project or a transit project, there will be impacts to traffic. But again, as the department does with all of its projects, detailed what's called MOT plans, or maintenance of traffic plans, are always drafted and reviewed to ensure that traffic impacts during construction are minimized to the greatest extent feasible.
Let's see. I think one of our concluding questions, which is a very good question, is how can the community get involved and stay informed?
That's a great question. I would recommend, reach out to me directly if you are interested, and I will have, let me know what corridor you're interested, or if you're interested in all of them, that would be great as well. I will have my project management teams put you on our mailing list so that you are kept informed of any updates that are happening with the project, of any meetings that may be coming up. We're always looking to broaden our reach, if you will. So please feel free to reach out, and we'll add you to our distribution list.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that, Nilia. This is very informative, and I hope those few people that weren't so familiar in the beginning of this webinar are much more familiar with the SMART plan. Again, I just want to conclude by thanking everybody for showing up to Mobility Week 2020. Things have been a little crazy this year. Things are a little different, but I'm glad that we're all still able to connect. I'm posting a couple links in the chat now. These are our virtual rooms from Mobility Week, where you can see all of the districts' projects, all 7 districts, any videos they might have put together, all in one virtual platform. As well, we have the Love to Ride challenge that's going on. You're able to win bikes, maintenance on bikes, accessories, just simply by riding for 10 minutes a day, sometimes more, sometimes less. But thank you all for tuning into our webinar. Thank you again, Ilya, for speaking to us, and I hope everybody has a great rest of their day.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
You too.